nationally. And we work to directly assist businesses and advocate to improve intellectual property policies, laws, and regulations abroad. And again, if I could please ask, thank you very much for going on mute. I appreciate it. And so in that, we advocate for strong IP systems globally, and we provide a variety of different services, such as raising issues with foreign government officials, providing training on intellectual property law enforcement and the administration of these laws. We conduct public awareness programs and in trying to engage stakeholders at all levels across the entire ecosystem throughout the region. So like today's program, for example. And we spend a lot of our time also explaining U.S. government's positions with respect to intellectual property and work with stakeholders entering foreign markets or conducting business abroad in helping them to navigate foreign laws and regulations, foreign courts and government work, and how to protect and enforce their intellectual property rights, in my case, throughout South Asia. On the awareness piece of my role, as I mentioned, that's one of the reasons I'm here today. As I took a look at the agenda for this program, again, I really do want to commend the program coordinators for putting together such a comprehensive program. As I looked through the agenda, I hearkened back to when I was the regional director for in Silicon Valley for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, working with innovators and entrepreneurs throughout the region on the West Coast of the United States. We used to do a program that we like to call speed dating for startups. And I feel like today's program is very much like that, in that not only is it important to understand understand the tools for entrepreneurs in having being more equipped with the different aspects of the innovation ecosystem, but it's also incredibly important to know what not to do. And I think today's program does that. So I will give a brief overview in a few minutes as it relates to intellectual property, but again, was really impressed to see some other topics on how to make a pitch, how to get funded, how to create a business plan, and one thing as new re-entrants into the workforce or looking to expand your capacity within the work that you do, understanding that intellectual property and an intellectual property strategy is an integral part of a business strategy, and integral to protecting this innovative work as well is where intellectual property plays a tremendous role. The one thing I do have to share, and this is what happens every time I talk to new entrepreneurs or early stage entrepreneurs, is intellectual property is complex. It can be somewhat expensive. And oftentimes, new and emerging enterprises often try to avoid protecting their intellectual property. But don't do that. There are some steps that you can take that are low cost, that can buy you some time to get the protection that you need and to continue to work on what it is on any innovations that you may be working on, without risking losing those innovations. And that's the one takeaway I do plan to leave with you today in just a few minutes. And intellectual property is also unique in that it actually gives you the ability to create property and to create a right and to receive rights for protecting that property. And in that way, it is very unique, but at the same time, it is complex. And while I only have a few minutes today, and I can usually spend hours and hours talking about the different types of intellectual property and how they overlap and how they can impact and support a business strategy, since I only have a few minutes, I will just give you a very, very brief and quick overview of intellectual property. And the primary types of intellectual property are patents, trademarks, copyrights, industrial designs, geographic indications, and trade secrets. And so I'll just start briefly to talk about trademarks. So trademarks are words, symbols, logos, or designs that really distinguish your product in the market from other products in the market. So if you think of Amul versus Mother Dairy, both of them are brands that just in the food industry that distinguish each other based on their trademarks. Coca-Cola is another very famous trademark. Trade secrets, I'll take a minute to talk about trade secrets. In India, the protections that govern trade secrets are primarily contractual, and so this is one area where our laws differ quite a bit between India and the US. But trade secrets generally give you the protections needed to protect your innovations and keeping your innovation out of the public domain. So there are sometimes that intellectual property that you create, this property right that you create, is only commercially viable if you can keep it secret. So a good example would be the formula for Coca-Cola, or the recipe for Kentucky Fried Chicken for KFC, and things like that. So if those formulas came out into the market, then the brand could lose its competitive edge for other products with the same formula also being in the market. The one thing about trade secrets is if once that formula is discovered or reverse engineered or separately discovered, there is no recourse for the right holder. So they spend a lot of energy in just keeping that secret. Let me turn on to copyrights. So copyrights, the definition I love for copyrights is very broad, but it's rightfully so. It's really anything that you can create and embody into a medium. So if you think of if you're an artist and you paint on a canvas, the canvas is your medium and the painted work is your artwork. If you're a sculptor and you sculpt in clay, where clay is the medium. If you're an author and you write a book and it's published, the book is the medium where those words are presented. If you're a software programmer and you create a new program and you store that program in computer readable memory, in the computer's memory, then it is also protected by copyrights. Copyrights are unique in that they do have some rights extend internationally, as well as you have rights as soon as you are able to embody that work into the medium. So a lot of flexibility there. If you think about it, it also applies to musical works and movies. And going back to my Coca-Cola analogy here, think about some of the advertisements you might see on TV with jingles that go along with the advertisement. The advertisement itself, as well as the jingles, are all copyright protected. And then going to geographic indications, I touched on in the beginning. It's kind of like a trademark, but at the same time, the brand is associated with geography. So, for example, if you have a product that is manufactured, for example, you're making Darjeeling tea. Darjeeling is a geographic indication which really provides protection for anyone outside of Darjeeling, to protect anyone outside of Darjeeling, to prevent anyone outside of Darjeeling for producing a product and calling it Darjeeling tea when the tea is not from Darjeeling. So there's some geographic protection there, but this applies, a lot of time in agricultural products, but also applies for textiles and pottery, and like, for example, saris. There's quite a few GIs for saris in India as well. So things to think about there. If you have a unique product that's unique to the region, you might be able to protect it through geographic indication. And then turning to industrial designs and patents. Industrial designs really just protect the ornamental work. So, for example, if you think of what your cell phone looks like, or my eyeglasses, for example, probably have a design patent, or the shape of a Coke bottle, things like that are protected. They're ornamental features. They're protecting the design, but not the functionality. For the functionality, we refer to patents. Patents are, protect utility patents, we call them, are for inventions, and they're designed to protect what something does. So, for example, when we go to how something operates, and when we think about Coca-Cola, they have patents for their dispensers when you go to dispense soda. Also, they have patents for their delivery systems, their manufacturing facilities. We have, like I said earlier, is we issue about 650,000 patents a year, and really what you have to show is that the product has a use. And I know I'm running short on time, but I am going to tell you a very quick example. Is if you think of chlorine bleach that you use to wash your clothes, a lot of times the way when you pour the bleach into the washing machine, it might splash because of the way the spout is shaped. But Clorox bleach has a specific spout that is shaped a certain way that when you pour the bleach into the washing machine, it doesn't splash. So it prevents getting on your clothes and ruining your clothes. So that has a use. It's not just the design; it also has a function, and that function is to prevent this caustic material from getting to only go to allow it to only go where it's intended to go and not to splash elsewhere. So when you think about patents, you think about what are you doing to improve what's already existing. What can you do to improve? We see this a lot in the pharmaceutical space and in medical devices, as well as in every industry that we interact with around the world, where we issue these patents for a variety of different inventions. And I'm trying to give this to you very quickly, so I'll just leave it there and just encourage you to take advantage of the tutorials for all of these different types of intellectual property. We have some tutorials on the uspto.gov website. I know in India, and the IP India office also has tutorials that they offer as well. So definitely encourage you to understand the different types of IP. The key takeaways I want to leave you with, though, are number one is that IP is intentionally designed not to be one size fits all. So sometimes you might need more than one type of IP to protect your entire innovation. So you might have a combination of patents, you may have trademarks, copyrights, some things you might need to keep as trade secrets. It is designed to work well together. So understanding the different types of IP, and more importantly, understanding how they overlap is really important for working in the science field and engineering fields. And then, if it is something that you're working on your own, determine, your strategy. And as I mentioned earlier, the IP strategy is an integral part of your business strategy. But my biggest takeaway I want to leave you with today is to be careful what you say. I mentioned earlier that I attended the inaugural session yesterday, and I see this almost in every session that I do, where participants will actually share their ideas and their inventions that they're working on in a chat window or something that is considered the public domain. And that is really risky to do. And so I do just encourage you to be careful about what you say. If you're working on an invention, the disclosure of your invention before filing of a patent application comes with a lot of risks and is very complicated to navigate. And especially since the laws are very different internationally. For example, in India, anything that you say prior to filing an application will be used in determining whether or not your invention, your own disclosure will be used against as prior art, as what was in the public domain prior to receiving to filing your application. So it can get complicated, but it's good to understand what you can say without giving up your innovative concepts, and also without giving up the ability to protect your innovations. We've seen this a lot with early stage entrepreneurs, and it also comes with wanting to share your ideas is founded by this passion, and I see it in this program as well. But the passion to make the world a better place, and you want to share your ideas, and you want to get input, and you want people to contribute to those ideas. But just to be sure, if you take that route, you will likely really adversely impact your ability to get patent protection for some of those innovations. And like I mentioned, especially in India, and then there are time constraints in many other jurisdictions around the world. So take some simple steps to ensure you're not saying too much before you've had a chance to file your patent application. And as I mentioned, there are a ton of resources available, not only here in India, but online video tutorials at the USPTO. So before I go, I do I know I'm speaking to a cadre of STEM graduates, so you all know this all too well. But let me reinforce the importance of STEM education and STEM education for kids as well. And as a STEM graduate yourselves, you serve as a role model for the next generation, and you can help bridge that gap between creativity and innovation, and really help encourage the innovative capacity of the next gen. So definitely encourage you to take those steps. If you're looking for fun and innovative exercises that you can do with kids in your life, please visit the USPTO kids pages. And you can just go to uspto.gov and put kids in the search, and it'll take you right to the page. A lot of fun stuff there with some really good tools to bridge that gap, as I was saying, between creativity and innovation. And then on this note, as the front runner for your household, not just encouraging STEM education is important, but also knowing how to respect intellectual property and how it impacts your family. It's good to know about different brands and to recognize and to learn how to recognize fakes or counterfeits. Many of these fakes and counterfeits in the market have tremendous safety concerns, especially when you're thinking about toys that kids are playing with, putting in their mouth, and perhaps baby products on the market. So please take some steps to understand some best practices with respect to falsified products, and even in pharmaceutical space as well, falsified products and the risks that they can bring, health risks to you and your family. And then lastly, as you consider re-entering the workforce, understand that understanding intellectual property is a must, but also think of intellectual property as a profession. It is a growing profession, and there's a lot of opportunity in this field. Remember, intellectual property is everywhere. It's all around us, and we interact with it every day, whether as a user, as an innovator, or as an IP professional. The more you know about intellectual property, the more of an asset you will be to your employer or your own business ventures. And with that, I just want to thank you again and wish you a very successful conference. I hope that intellectual property will help support you and your career goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a few questions in the comment section, so if we can go ahead with those first. So would you like me to go describe the questions to you?
I'm pulling them up now. If you want to read them, that's fine. I'm going to go in order. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay, I see them now. So is there a way of making the patented assistive technology products available for other countries without the phenomenal expense of export duty? So export duties are something I am not familiar with. So I primarily deal with intellectual property policy and not the duties that surround all of the different aspects of it with respect to government procurements and levied tariffs and things like that. It's just something out of my wheelhouse. So I apologize, I can't answer that question for you. Let me see. Some good questions, though. Okay, so also ideas need to be shared so people can give further insights or challenges for making your product or service more viable. Something like pre-deployment testing, where you need to validate or challenge the usability of an issue with which might have been overseen. So yes, this is really important when bringing a product to the market. And one of the ways to go about doing, and I mentioned that trade secret protection is in India is primarily covered under contractual law. So having contracts with those that you're disclosing your invention with, non-disclosure agreements, NDAs as we like to call them, and gives you the ability to openly disclose your invention because you're contractually obligating the person you're disclosing it to from disclosing it beyond just the scope in which you've set for this purpose. So it does give you the ability to provide market research and enhance and improve your product as well. And yeah, thank you for showing the USPTO links. And let's see. All right, last question here is, if something needs to be patented, do we consider it to patent in the country where the technology is being created, or to consider patenting across multiple locations? Yeah, that's an excellent question. Patents are jurisdictional. So if you want to protect your patent in the United States, you have to get patent protection in the United States. If you want to protect your patent in India, you have to get patent protection in India. There are, so, and really anywhere in the world where you want to enforce your rights. In India, for example, in order to have a patent in India, you also have to verify that you are working that patent. That's kind of a unique requirement for India. So understanding what those filing requirements are, even after you get a patent, is important. But also, in other countries, just having the patent in force in that country can prevent others from making, using, selling, importing that patented product into the country where it's patented. So understanding the international landscape is really important. There are some steps you can take to file through the World Intellectual Property Organization, both on the patent and trademark side. It gets a little complicated, but it does, even though it still is complicated, it is more streamlined and gives you the ability to file in multiple countries versus, and gives you more time to file in those countries, because time is always of the essence when we're talking about intellectual property. And with that, I would just like to thank everybody. Thank you very much again, and I wish you a very successful program.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would request Deepa ma'am to kindly present sir with the memento. Just a second.
Okay, Sonia.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thank you. And before we conclude with the session, I would request everyone to turn on their cameras, put on a smile, so that we can have a group picture for this session. I'll just be sending the request. Yes. Now all you have to do is just take a selfie. Only 4 people are done with this group feed. So I request everyone to please click their selfies. This will be a great surprise for all of you who have not attended yesterday's session, which was the inaugural session. You'll be able to see how beautifully you'll get, you can say, takeaway from the session. We'll wait for 2 minutes more so that everyone can complete their selfie.
Shini, if it's okay, then Sonia will join within a few minutes. Is it okay? Okay. Okay.
Okay. I am ending the group fee now.
Okay. Okay.
The final photo would be received in your email as well. So thank you so much, John sir, for your valuable time. Thank you again, everyone, for attending the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.